Good afternoon, my darlings. And there we are. Yeah, I think I prefer this. So, my darlings, how are you this afternoon? I'm feeling lots better. Not the best. Started with a silly tickly cough. I'm on the dirty seven again. Excuse me, it's 2:30. It is a Tuesday afternoon. Or is it a Wednesday afternoon? Oh, it's Wednesday today. Sorry, tell a lie. It is Wednesday, the 24th of July. And goodness me, hasn't today been the strangest of days? Really odd, really super odd day. We wake up with some horrific news about a young soldier being stabbed this morning, and I do hope he is feeling and is okay and will be okay and is, well, I don't suppose he will be feeling better just yet, but he will be hopefully safe and out of the woods, which is what we're all hoping for, isn't it? But yes, not only do we have that this morning, but we have the weather today has been very strange. And outside, it's July, but you think it was autumn. All the trees, the leaves are starting to go orange and gold and red, and I don't expect that kind of look on the leaves and on the trees until at least September. And it feels as though it's arrived a full 8 weeks early. Excuse me. Cannot get rid of this tickle today. It is not good. I feel a little fluey, although I know I'm getting better. I can feel it that I'm getting better. But started with a tickly cough today, so go me. Well, actually, today's subject I wanted to talk to you about was being prepared for winter. Now, where I live in Yorkshire, quite high up in Yorkshire, and I live in a valley, and I live on the side of a valley, and moorland surrounds me. I have a nice town and a little village. Well, I live in the village up the side of the valley in the village, and it's beautiful during the summer. It's beautiful in spring, autumn, and winter. Unfortunately, in winter time, when the snows do come and the rain comes, sometimes we can be cut off, and this is what leads to. That's why we are a prepared little village. And round about now, most people around where I live start getting their cars serviced and start ordering bits and pieces that they're going to need for the cars, like winter tyres and spare headlights, spare bulbs, things like that, and snow kits in case they get stranded up on the tops. A little like shovel, like it's like a trowel, but it's more industrialized. It's got like a serrated edge in case you need to cut any branches or leaves out of the road, move things. And it's got quite a wide basin to try and snow plough your way out. And a lot of cars have those around where I live. Not only do we prepare our vehicles for winter, we have a bag that we keep in our car with spare blankets and food and water, just in case we get stranded. But mostly we don't like to travel when it's wild and woolly outside, and if we can avoid it, we'll stay in. We can be hermits where we are. Another thing that we like to prepare for, I know you've probably seen these big bins that are behind me. If I tilt the camera, you see yeast and flour, and I tend to keep about 7 or 8 bins full of overflow stock of food. You know, flour, gravies, sauce packet mixes, rice, pasta, jars of sauce, thickening agents, salt, pepper, sugar, everything you could possibly think that you would need in your pantry. But I keep an overstock here in my office just to have on hand in case I can't get out at any point over the winter period, which for us starts in October and can go right up to March. So I like to think I've got a nice little stock there for my family should they need it. And in my office I keep overflow stock of toilet roll and baby wipes and sanitary towels and soap and shampoos and mouthwash, toothpaste, toothbrushes, washcloths, pan scourers, anything that you think that you're possibly going to need. I have an overflow stock and I keep that here in the office with me. And next door, what was the garage, my husband converted it for me into a overflow storeroom or a walk-in food room. And I just think it is such a good idea to have a food room in your house that's not just your kitchen, but in there you'll keep the spare fridges and the spare freezers and all your tinned goods, your dried goods, your spare water. Always have water. Have over 300 litres of water stored in the house, around the house. You never know when you're going to need it. And I have more in another area, which, you know, is my backup storage. And I just think it's absolutely imperative in this day and age when you just don't know what the weather's going to do. You don't know politically. We're not at war at the moment, but I do worry in the future that we might have a supply interruption. That's what I worry about, supply interruption. Being able to get my hands on the things that my family's going to need. COVID was a prime example. There we were, minding our own business, living our own lives, and bang, along came COVID. And well, we all saw how everybody reacted to the toilet roll situation. Now, could you imagine it being so much worse and it's medication that you can't get hold of that your family, you know, a family member might need? Like my husband, he needs heart medication and he's going to be needing heart medication for the rest of his life. God bless him. It's just one of those things, but I need to know that I've got a supply of heart medication for my husband, and at any one point I have a 6 month supply of heart medication for my husband, just in case everything stopped tomorrow and there was an interruption. I know that he's got enough to keep him going for 6 months. I'd like to have longer, however, there is a shelf life with the medication, and this is what you would do during an interruption. If something more serious happened, then the efficacy of the heart medication wouldn't be as strong, but it would still work, and I could do a year to 2 years worth of stocking for his heart medication. It loses its efficacy, and I think that's the word I'm looking for. And although it still works, it's just perhaps not as strong, but it's still going to be okay for him. I keep lots of other things like plenty of cat food and cat litter everything that Monty's going to need, and flea and worming tablets, and flea spray, flea powder, things like that, things that he's going to need. And I also keep extra water for Monty as well, because he's going to need a drink, isn't he? Because he's a member of the family. He needs something. And I keep a backup of everything that the children are going to need. Even though one is not actually technically living at home with us at the moment, with her being away at university, but she still has needs, and she still has things that are there specifically for her. And we have a plan to go get her should there be a major problem and we need to go and get our child. And the same applies for our eldest daughter, who is living at home. Excuse me. But if she's at work and we suddenly need to go and pick her up, we have plans for that too. It's plans within plans within plans of have as many as possible, because even though it's written down on paper, it is still, it might not work. So you might have to improvise and do something else. Communication is the key here, people. Keep talking. Keep talking to your family, keep talking to your husband, whoever it is that's collecting any member of your family. Have that in mind. But yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons that we prep. It's not for the end of the world, and it's not for a major disaster, but we're working along the lines of, it might be an interruption. It could be a supply interruption. It could be a weather interruption. Lord forbid we ever have a war. Although everybody seems to be a bit antsy these days. Let's hope the cool heads prevail. That would be better, wouldn't it? For everybody involved. But yeah, so I'm a full-on advocate for, please put a little aside food-wise, and water and medication and toiletries and things like that, and just keep them there on hand, right? It's always better to have it and not need it, rather than need it and not have it. And with the way the weather is around here, as I say, September's a beautiful month, beautiful autumn. And then suddenly, boink, we're in October, and then we get everything. We can have snow one day, we can have rain, we can have hail, we could have it all. So, we might have a sunshiny day, and like you're thinking, oh wow, this is really nice. It won't last. Not where we are. We're so at the elements, and well, it's Yorkshire, isn't it? Let's face it, it's not like it is down south, where you seem to have very clement weather, and you just, I think Mother Nature is a little kinder than she can be when we're facing it right up here on the moors. And boy, oh boy, when she wants to show you who's boss, you do not argue. You do not argue with the northern lass, especially Mother Nature, who I do believe is a northern lass, and she will tell you how it's going to be, and you're going to stand there or sit there and go, yes ma'am. You want to rain today and blow a wind and throw it all across the moors? You go ahead, love. Get it out of your system. But yeah, that is kind of what it's like living in Yorkshire. Have you ever thought about moving up here? You will have a lovely time. It is beautiful. Yorkshire is sort of the last frontier of the United Kingdom, where the wilds really are the wilds. I often feel like down south you're very, very sheltered, and you come up north and my goodness, it'll make men out of you. And ladies after the ladies. Yes, it's hard. It's hard living in the north. The weather is more brutal, and the environment is harsher, but it's what makes us what we are, which is, Yorkshire folk. Well, everyone seems to think we're a bit weird. Have you tried living up here? That might explain why. But yeah, so prepare for winter. That's what I've been doing. And what I'm doing at the moment is something called an inventory, where we go through everything that we have in the house and we draw up a list of what we need to replace immediately, what can wait a couple of months, and what we've got plenty of. And at the moment, we are getting to the point of tinned food, tinned soups, things like that. They're going to be quite useful for winter up here. If we have a power outage, we can be without power for from 6 hours to 6 days. It just depends on how quickly they can get to the power supply, because the wind whips through here where we are, and of course when it snows and bad weather, rain, storms, anything like that can knock power out, and it just takes time to reconnect to the grid. So that's why we don't just solely rely on our freezers. We have a lot of food that's like dried goods or tinned food, fresh vegetables, things like that, which I know you need a fridge to keep them fresh, but if you have, like I do, which is a giant slab of marble, and during the winter months it is so cold that the food, if you run out of room in your fridge, just drag out the marble slab, lay it down, and then you can just set it up for putting the milk and the eggs, cheeses, creams, things like that, vegetables. You can just pop them on the marble and it'll keep for 2 or 3 days if you run out of power, and by that point you've probably eaten through them anyway. And so it brings me to another thing. If you're going to have milk, have dried milk in the house as well, or coffee whitener. Many a time when we've run out of milk, or the power's not being there to keep it in the fridge, we've just used a coffee whitener and it's just been great. You don't really notice it, and if you're used to something being in your coffee, it's a nice thing to have, isn't it? Another thing that we stock up on quite a lot is medical kits. I have a medical bin, and in there I keep everything from bandages to plasters to like Savlon and Dettol, antiseptic wipes, anything that I think is going to be needed. We also have a full evac medical kit, because my husband is a medic as well in his part-time, and in there are Israeli bandages, suture kits, quick clot, crazy glue, what do you call it, super glue. Yeah, super glue was invented in the Vietnam War and was used to basically join bits back together quickly while they waited to evac them out. So I have been told. Whether or not that is true, I don't know. It could be an old urban legend. But yeah, that's apparently when super glue was invented. So, unless it has, I've been told a lie, in which case please educate me and tell me when it was made. But yes, that's the story that I've always been told. So we have super glue to join bits back together in case I can't sew it back together, because I can suture. Believe me, I've had to learn that in the past as well. Quick clot is wonderful stuff, and that can stop bleed. Tampons, they're amazing. If you've got a really bad cylindrical hole, you can just whack one of them in, and until you can get it back and get it treated. We have scalpels, we have clamps, scissors, grips, you name it. It is all in that medic bag. We have tubes, incubators, the whole 9 yards, and it lives in that evac pack, which is quite hefty, but it's in a rucksack, and it's specifically designed as an evac. So my husband did it, and he knows what he wants and knows what he needs. And I have been fully trained on how to use everything that's inside it, just in case he's incapacitated. So it's always best to have backups for your backups. Somebody to take over if one is incapacitated, and as the golden rule says, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So not only am I trained to use what's in the bag, our daughter is trained to use what's in the bag. That's the eldest. The youngest, and she's not really shown much interest in that at the moment, but she's young, and eventually I am absolutely positively sure she will use the stuff. She'll learn. And good grief, she's the one that learned to do field cooking more so than the eldest. So what we said is we've got yin and yang with those two. The eldest is medically minded and able to just drop down and do whatever needs to be done, and the youngest can cordon bleu. She can make a tin of baked beans, amazing, and she's just a fantastic cook. So she gets that from me. I'm not saying my husband can't cook, but he doesn't cook quite like me, and our eldest doesn't cook quite like me. She can make something to eat that will keep you alive. You're probably not going to know where it is, but don't argue with her. I think my little kitten just woke up. My little Monty. Monty, is that you? I think it is. Yeah. So yeah, my youngest said she can make a tin of baked beans the best thing in the universe. My eldest could cook those same tin of baked beans, and you're wondering what it is. Can you tell what it is yet? If you can eat for free. That's what we say around here. So yeah, we're all a family that is quite united, and each one can do something for the other, and we all have to take turns in doing everything, because I do believe that a family that is prepared and has learned to do as much as possible, that if one goes down, the other one can rise up and take over until the one that's gone down gets back up again. And that is how it should be. So that's top and bottom of why this family prepares, because of where we live and what may or may not face us. We just have to work as a team. We'll get through it. Sometimes we're without power. Sometimes we are without water. I'm really selling Yorkshire, aren't I? Oh, come live in Yorkshire, where we have no idea what the weather's going to be like and no idea whether or not we're going to be attached to the grid. Yeah, but you can't wait to move up here, can you? But yes, that is one of the reasons why we prepare now during the summer for what may hit us during the winter. And I love all the seasons that we have it here where we live, but we have to be prepared accordingly. And the spring summer months can just be as dicey as the autumn winter. Earlier this year we got a flood alert in the village, the river that runs right through it. Well, we have two that converge at one point, and if that causes, excuse me one moment, is that you, darling? Oh, hi. I didn't know it was you or not, darling. Yes, sweetheart. I'm just doing a recording. I could just hear this banging, and I thought, oh, it was you. Right, you nip upstairs with that. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, earlier this year in the spring, we got a flood alert that came through, and because we have two rivers that converge at one point, and it's like, boom, those two get together, and a third river is created, if you like, straight down the middle of the street, which can cut straight through the village. And once that happens, both sides of the bridge are out, and that's it, not getting through. Now, I did put a playlist together of the 2015 Boxing Day floods if you want to see what happened to our little village. It's on there. And yeah, it can happen, and it just doesn't wait for winter. Sometimes it happens in spring. It could even happen in the summer. And the thing is, if you've got like a little bit behind you and your family's trained to do everything, you know, each one of you can do something and the other one can do it as well. You just got to have backups for your backups. And weather can be quite scary, you know. Another thing that worries us is that we live in a political landscape that everybody seems to be annoyed with everybody else at the moment, and it's like, I don't really like that. Oh, that's another good reason. Good reason to live in Yorkshire. You're away from the cities. You're out in the countryside. Yes, I know. I've just said what it's like living in the countryside, but it's far better being away from a city than it is living in a city. I feel. I'm a country mouse, not a town mouse, and I just think if I was in a city and something went wrong, trying to get out of the city to get to the countryside would be nigh on impossible. There's only so many roads in and so many roads out, and if you can't get out in time, you're stuck there, and your family's stuck there, and there might not be any food in your city, and the water might be getting, you know, and if you haven't put anything to one side, plus there are more people wanting things. When things are bad, people do bad things in order to get things. And I'd like to think that if I'm out in the wilds of Yorkshire, and I'm a bit more away from bad people, that we've got a better chance of still being here and still having our things with us. I'm not saying that bad people aren't going to get out of the city and come and may find us, but once they've trekked across the moors and they've been out in the elements for maybe a week, 2 weeks, because if they're on foot and they're walking, they're going to be tired, cold, not very well, because they've been out in the elements, and they're not really going to be causing us an awful lot of bother if they're suffering from exposure, which is something that happens around here. If you are out when the weather is bad and you don't seek shelter quickly, the elements are going to mess you up a lot. You are going to be very cold and very wet very quickly, and you're going to lose body heat. And when you lose body heat, you get confused. And when the confusion sets in, it gets even worse. And those moors are a very empty place, and they are very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, and they can be deadly. And that's another form of protection around us. Although, I don't know. You might like living in the city. You may enjoy living in a city, you know. But one of the reasons that we live out where we do is that we are hard to find and hard to get to. And if there is somebody outside and they have survived all that, they're not really going to be in a fighting mood. No. And they're probably going to be quite desperate at that point and not very well. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we live where we live. Far away, safety, out away from people. But the flip side of it is it can be a brutal existence up here, which is why we start in the summer preparing for the winter. So there you are. And if it's something that you're interested in and you'd like to talk to me a little bit more about it, you can always email me at ironingfairy.one@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to chat with you. And if it's something that you would consider moving to Yorkshire, then yeah, great. I can talk to you even more about it. And I hope you all have a lovely day and no more weird news comes through. But yes, this is why we prepare, in case we get weird news and weird things, and just in general weird. Take care, my darlings. See you later.